until they give us a new season. We're going to be covering the last 2 episodes, which has to do with a potential revenant and also a person who considers themselves cursed and the realities of what it is to be someone who is tasked with glorious purpose. I'm trying not to say gifted all the time because it sounds a little bit trite, but tasked with glorious purpose sounds very Nordic. I'm wondering if anybody's going to get the reference aside from Joel. Anyway, with me today is Joel. Look, there he is. Mr. Cool. Our channel's Lando Calrissian. So, wanted to jump right into the first episode. The second to last episode, because one of the things that we talked about many, many moons ago was revenants. Because Joel and I have experience with revenants. I have a bit more than Joel, but truthfully speaking, you only have to know one to know all of them. What they want is revenge. And what they want is revenge on you. And when they want it now. And when they take it, they usually take your life. But they're like a greedy animal that once they've had one steak, they don't stop with one steak. They never stop. So, your thoughts, Joel?
Yeah. It was really interesting. Me and my wife watched it, and we were both talking about it, and it was interesting because you hear that it's like the grandfather and the great grandfather were both, and the father both served in the military during wars. And so, the first thing you think of is like the sense of the father, this thing is following around a warrior's kind of lineage. But, after watching it, and well, my wife is in the mental health field. And of course, she brought up the fact that it could be acute stress disorder with psychotic features. And I think there was like one time where I can't remember, but I thought there was a time where he said that he experienced it with somebody else. Somebody else experienced the entity at the same time. But
so far, that's not him though on this, Joel.
That could be like a share of psychosis.
I don't remember them saying somebody else saw it. I thought it was just him.
I think it was just him. I can't remember.
Yeah, truthfully, it was just him. So there was nobody to corroborate it. Now, with a revenant has no problem with making itself seen to a lot of people. In fact, you don't even have to be gifted to see it. When it's ready to spring, it gets right up in your face and it lets you know that it's there and you're the steak dinner. And it's not even going to wait for the baked potato to be done. So,
yeah.
So one of the realities of revenants themselves is that they're not going to stop and they don't back down and they don't go, well, I'm going to give you a chance to get better or change or any of that. So
leave and never come back. No, that's not a thing.
Yeah, that's not an option. They don't back down and they don't give you a second chance and they don't go, you're the enemy, I'm going to have pity. They have no pity. It's like the Terminator. They don't get hungry. They don't get tired. They don't feel sad. They don't feel remorse. They have one job and they absolutely will not stop. And so you're going to, yeah, most people will ask, well, if they don't stop, if they're not going to stop, then how do they ever find it? Because it takes them a while to find something else that they can focus on to get revenge on. Sometimes they just stick around battlefields forever and hopefully nobody ever comes near them that reminds them or has some kind of aspect that sets them off into going, hey, you're the new T-bone on the plate. And that's the truth. By the way, this is the first time ever we are simulcast on both Facebook. So you can see us through our Magic Oak Facebook page, and you can also see us through the YouTube channel. StreamYard, the people who actually help us to put this stuff out, are the ones who decided to be able to add in a whole bunch of new features. And eventually you'll be able to see us on things such as BitChute, Vimeo, my goodness, Daily Motion, all simulcast. It'll all be sent to all of those different mediums. So if you can get one over the other internationally, you'll be able to find that your preferred choice of way to watch us is going to be available. By the way, I wanted to say thank you once again to Cornfald for his contributions, to Amber, to Diana, to to Aisha, to Carrie. Thank you all once again. The reason why we're able to be on StreamYard is because of you and your kind contributions. And saying hello to everybody out there in the audience. So I don't know. I really would like to go over this one more in more depth, but to me, it seems like what we're dealing with this guy was good old fashioned head trauma plus trauma plus PTSD equals hallucinations.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like that. And I feel bad because unfortunately what he's experiencing is a very real sensation. Um, so, it's kind of, I really feel bad for this guy. This guy's been through a lot.
He's going back into it on purpose. That was at the end of it. He was going back. It's like, well, I don't think I've stuck my thumb in the eye of what I'm afraid of enough.
Well, I think there's a certain feeling of you like how I look up in the ceiling, like it's gonna give me the answer, like it's written on my wall.
All of mine are up there.
Yeah.
You're not working hard enough. All of mine are up there in Sharpie, man.
But it's definitely, people who serve have a sense of duty, especially if it's runs in generational familiar. It's one of those things, my dad never really talked about his experience in the Air Force. So when I joined the Air Force, I think my mom was a little bit surprised because it really wasn't talked about in my with my parents. So, but I was just pulled to it, and even though I was there for a short amount of time, I there was a certain amount of pride that I had being there, and there's still a certain amount of pride that I carry with my service, with the attachment to my service, and I'm very happy that I was able to serve my country in that way.
But you got to keep your legs, unlike Lieutenant Dan.
Yes, and I didn't.
I had to throw that one in there.
I didn't get hit in the head with the shell like one of my buddy, Brett. God bless you. He's fine, but he's dealt with some stuff during the first Gulf War that unfortunately fortunate enough I didn't have to deal with that. Unfortunately, a lot of my veteran brothers have to deal with, and it's a sad thing.
Yeah, don't get me into the ramifications of what they don't get when they come home.
Yeah, that's not.
Because the number of homeless that we have up here, and 90% of them are vets, and it's sorry. The mayor up here is, yeah. I try not to say anything. Yeah, and his kids are pretty much the same. So yeah, so I really don't. I don't have a whole heck of a lot to throw into that episode because it really isn't much of an episode that you can discuss because, well, the guy, he saw what he saw, real or not, he shouldn't have gone back. If it was a Revenant, it wouldn't have chased him. It would have just killed him straight out. And they really can reach out and touch you. They're something that specializes in reaching out and touching you and giving you a whole new idea of terror. They let you see them right at the end. The only reasons that we saw the ones that we saw before they got to us is because guess what? We have an unfair advantage, like being able to speak Spanish while playing Resident Evil 4. For those of you who've actually done it, you actually know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What was the first game? There was I don't think it was Call of Duty, but there was a game where they spoke like the first part of the video game in German. So if you understood German, getting through that part of the game was pretty easy.
Yeah, so you get a bit of an unfair advantage there. But if he had really been, if he'd been seeing this thing, then it would have come after him and it would have polished him off. It would have given him no warnings, and it would not have stopped. And so I think probably for the health of his mental health and for the sake of his survival, he probably shouldn't have signed up again and gone back. But that's all out of our hands.
Yeah.
So the second part That was the one that's really the most important one. The reason being is
Which
that
is funny because I don't know if you noticed, but it was half as long as Demon of War, which I found pretty interesting. Actually, you know, because there's so much going on in this that needs to be taught. Now, if anything was a Revenant, that would be probably the closest thing to a Revenant that we have compared, because of the fact that it was physically uh, affecting things on this plane, specifically the dog. But we'll get to that. I won't be.
Yeah. So let's start off with the fact that the first time that the kids, all right, well, probably should back up a little bit. One of the things I'm working with Barbara, a lady who helps me with my PTSD from my gifts, because as a kid I had no filter, and these things would come and do whatever they felt like around me, and oftentimes set me off. And we're talking, to this day, I still have to deal with some things that will put me into a PTSD, panic attack, anxiety attack, whatever you want to call it, and I'm pretty much lost. But I'm a lot better than I was. But one of the things that Barbara said to me was that what I consider a weakness is really a superpower. You know, these things that I can do that I think are annoying and sometimes frightening and useful to people who are in need is actually a kind of a superpower. Now, I'm not the one who said that. You can go after Barbara Charlton, and she will repeat this. It's her words, and I'm just repeating them. But that's what's going on with this kid in the last episode. It's not a curse, although it can look like one. And if anybody's ever given you the graphic representation of heaven and hell from 2 points of view, you'll understand. Imagine everybody sitting on the sides of these giant bowls with super long chopsticks, and they're trying to get, there's endless amounts of food at the bottom. They can sit on the lip, and they're trying to feed themselves, and they're crying and they're weeping because they can't get any of this food. And that's hell. Here's heaven. Imagine that exact same situation, but everybody's feeding each other with these 6 foot long chopsticks from the bowl that they're sitting on, and everybody's happy. This is the situation that we're dealing with this guy who considers it a curse, because he never learned how to use it. He never learned how to understand it. And since I had such a precise version of that happen, where the bog creature chased after me and would not let go, I understand. The difference is where his solution was and my solution. But I'll tell you, I did try his solution and it didn't work. So let's get into that. All right, Joel. I'm going to let you take that from there, because I'm just.
You need to reset for a second.
Yeah.
So I guess he gets born with the extra embryonic sac, I guess, extra skin is what he calls it, around his body. And before he was born, while his mom was pregnant, they decide to perform a cleansing. Did they say what? It wasn't Santa Maria. What was it that they? Do you remember what?
You mean it wasn't Santeria? No, it was.
Yeah.
Wasn't Santeria. It was a curandero.
So they did a cleansing. Evidently, during the cleansing, he must have was imbued with some sort of gifts. But it seems like it's a familiar thing, where it's handed down through his family, because he talks about going down to Mexico and being in Mexico, and his brothers and cousins have an experience where they sing the same clown with the exaggerated smile. Now, this is after, of course, he's seen some guy in a sketch alley, like where he used to live, and he says it's not a good part of town. And whatever he saw, the entity said, like, "Oh, you can see me." Mm-hmm. Okay. This is where Joe breaks camp, and he's no longer around. There's no easing back. There's just like elbows and assholes. Joel is out of this area. Um,
Yeah, and this is something that I can tell you as a kid. It's these these are things Barbara and I are supposed to work on. The peekers that peek around the corners, and the ones that stand at a distance and they stare at you because they know you can see, and then you blink, and then all of a sudden they're like this, staring you right in the eye. Those are the ones that to this day I still, yeah, that's one of the ones that I have to work on with Barbara.
so, I mean, I dealt with entities that like to lurk around corners and stuff, and they kind of look at a distance. For some reason, I can I can shroud myself where it doesn't appear that I'm witnessing what's going on. They have to kind of decide. I think he knows I'm here, but he doesn't. His aura isn't reacting like a person that sees me. It's something it's a gift or a talent I kind of developed.
But a child doesn't have that kind of camouflage, and these things know, they can see and they can feel it, and they realize that they're on stage, and you just put the spotlight on them. Some of them like it, some of them don't, some of them feed on it.
And
And
that's why they show themselves to children with gifts, especially if they don't understand the fact that they have gifts or nobody discussed that.
parents don't listen. That's my favorite.
Yeah, it's kind of like the first episode with the mother with the bathtub and the kids like telling the parents like, "Hey, this is going on." Some people consider it like overactive imagination, something they saw, they kind of blow it off. Um, and it's funny because you figured like if the mom had did a cleansing, she would believe the child that this is what he's saying. I mean, or he says that she told him just ignore it because all of
Yeah,
a
that's my
sudden,
that's my favorite. Just
he,
ignore it; it'll go away.
yeah, he's seen it in his house, and it attached himself to him. So he kind of knows, he kind of knows it's feeding off of his fear.
And let's face it, there's a lot to be afraid of there. Truthfully, I can tell you from experience with things that were nowhere near as bad as this thing, all the way up to things that were worse than this thing. That you're going to be, it's the fear level runs somewhere between a near death experience and a bedwetting on a constant basis.
Yeah,
You just
and the more it gets, the more it taunts the child, the stronger it gets because the more fear that it builds up. After seeing it one night and somebody said ignoring it, it doesn't go away and it's back the next night. Well, guess what? You're even more scared because it's still there.
and then add in the lack of sleep, more stress on top of that, higher levels of cortisol. The response gets worse. You're running on adrenaline, and a kid is going to be no different than an adult.
Yeah. Except for the kid will have less control over their emotions, so it's going to be as stronger. Especially this is like um, preteen to probably teenage year, which means there's like a lot of biochemistry going on, a lot of hormones going on, a lot more emotional things happening.
Now, Amber asked, was the ghost just some creepy dead arsehole trying to scare the kid? See, that's the big question. Without being able to sense and be there, I don't really know. All I know is that this thing is a hell of a lot stronger than your standard ghost. It could have been a spirit. It could have been an amalgamation. It could have been a ghost that's been feeding on other things, and it's now strong enough to be able to attach itself to him and be dragged wherever he went. Because no matter where he went, this thing was following. It was anchored on him. And I mean, he was a meal and a half.
Yeah. Uh, it is definitely. Well, I just couldn't imagine. I just really, really couldn't imagine this. I mean, I can, but because it's later down where there's three people can confirm that they're seeing this thing. So it's like it, and that is probably one of the best things ever that can happen. In the fact that he knows he's not going crazy, and it's like when Sean and I met, and then we're experiencing the same thing, and then we can bounce it off of each other. Like, I'm experiencing it, so I know this is not my imagination, and I know there's at least one person who believe me, because he just said before I got a chance to. He, he just said
happy memories.
Ah, he just said before I got a chance to say that this is happening.
Yeah, and yes, it was happening, Joel. The glasses were floating in midair. It's like, oh, you saw the glasses there? Yes, that's his. Where's the horn room? But they were just floating there. I know. It's near the wingback chair. It was near the wingback chair. Yes, it was. That's the thing. See, but most kids don't have that, and so they'll feel alone. And that's the thing. Hi, Amber. It's the more alone that they end up being, the more vulnerable they end up being. And I can tell you from experience, before I finally had Joel to talk to, let me tell you what it felt like. It felt like being the only person on the moon, period. Or like being locked in a closet all by yourself. Now, one of the other questions you asked Amber was, did the ghost cause the clown car accident? Once again, not enough information for us to know. But this thing more than likely could have done it. I mean, it killed a dog. It killed a dog. It throttled the dog. Okay, yeah. So it obviously, it's a revenant of some kind, and it can kill. Some ghosts have a much more facile ability to reach out and touch somebody, and this thing could have simply decided to wrench the steering wheel out of its control and kill them.
This is a very scary case.
And why did it threaten to kill the dog? Or why did it kill the dog? Because, okay, a dog can usually see or sense quite a bit. Now, that's not all of them, but they generally have a better sense of danger, and their vision for this kind of thing is considerably better than most humans. Now, that's not saying they can all see ghosts, but this one definitely could sense when this thing was around. And that's an early warning system. What happens if you take away the early warning system? Then the kids feel even more vulnerable. Plus, having a beloved pet suddenly wrenched out of your life, naturally speaking, you have lost a sense of safety, a beloved attachment to this world.
And let's not forget that all three are experiencing this, and they went to Mexico and they thought they was going to be on vacation, be safe from this. And all of a sudden, they all three see it. The grandfather hears him yell, and is walking around. And then,
Grandpa saw it. He could sense it. He grabbed the shotgun.
And then it kills the dog. So it knows, if it can sense that the main person can sense it, then you know that it knows that the other two can sense it as well. So we can start that conversation right now. So not only is it feeding off of one, but it's feeding off of three. And now that it killed the dog, now they don't feel safe because they feel like the dog is going to keep them safe. And also the fear that the grandfather feels, because he doesn't understand what happened to the dog, the family dog, and the dog is now dead. So there's like 4 people in this house that are scared about something that they can sense in the house or in their environment.
Yeah, the dog, I found that dogs are a good first layer of protection if they're able to see these kinds of things against stuff like that. My mom's dog, Shadow, would not go into my bedroom when there was something in there that made the room so cold that you could literally see your breath, like in The Exorcist. Yeah, most of my animals, until my badass cat, my mom got a cat named Tom. This shadow thing was menacing my life. Yeah, you met Tom, but he was already on his way out. He was getting so frail. But Tom was the one that scared off that shadow that was living in my bedroom when I was in the bedroom with Rick. And this is before I went and took over my sister's old room when she moved out. So But Tom was the cat that scared them off because he was something. If I just known that he was on both sides at once, God, I'm sad the way that we lost him. But and the thing did appear to threaten. It did appear to threaten the brother because it wanted to take the brother out. It was like if you don't let me stay attached to you, there's always your brother. It's like it's like the haunted mansion. We have 999 happy haunts, but there's always room for one more.
Yeah, it's super bad. This thing is horrific. I just couldn't imagine having this in my house around my family.
Well, that's because you and I are at the point now where nothing can do this around our house and our family.
Yeah, but even when you remember the first time I told you that my grandmother was kind of around and I smelled like freshly tilled earth.
Mm-hmm.
Kept smelling it, and it was like really bothersome to me. And I tried to bring it up to my mom. My mom, she couldn't smell it. She thought it might be mildew someplace in the house.
No, it doesn't smell like freshly tilled earth.
I know. I know. That was the thing. It was like, well, where would that be coming from? Would that be coming from, the washer didn't show any signs of mildew or anything like that. So wherever this was coming from, and it wouldn't be like a long time. It would be short periods of time. Like it'd be like maybe a day or two. It was right around the time my grandmother's presence was being felt. And that was like right around the time that my gifts was starting to show up or peak a little bit. They were starting to gradually gain.
So another question that she asked was, where did he go when he attempted suicide? Well, he went nowhere. So to give you some heads up, when I was dealing with major back injury and I was alone, Joel had gone into the military, and my mom was just constantly trying to see how much she could put on my shoulders and how hard she could make me work and how much she could make me do. And I mean, with 3 herniated discs in my spine and 1 ruptured, getting out of bed hurts, but doing manual labor and pouring cement and all this other stuff, that hurts worse. And I got to the point where she was berating me every day, and I just wanted to be free of this planet because I was tired of all of the responsibilities. And I thought, you know what, God, take me now. And I took enough muscle relaxers that should have killed an elephant. I went to sleep. I told nobody, by the way. I was asked, did you ever tell anybody that you tried to commit suicide? No. When you mean it, you don't go, hey, I just took 2 bottles of pills. Can you take me to the ER? No. You take 2 bottles of pills, you go lay down, and you let the darkness come and get you. And I woke up in the bathroom. I hadn't vomited. There was nothing on the floor. I don't know what I was doing on the floor, but I'm very grateful now that my mother had those little fluffy things that went around the base of the toilet, because my face was mashed into it like that. And it was a lot better than having my face smashed into linoleum tile. And I dreamt nothing. I felt nothing. I saw nothing. I absolutely saw nothing. And I woke up feeling disappointed that God had rejected me. I thought, God didn't want me to come. And so I'm going to have to learn to live. It was exactly the opposite. God saved me and said, go and live. There's things you got to do. But once again, it's that the differences between you're on the bowl feeding each other, or you're on the bowl trying to feed yourself. It's the same situation. If you remember the analogy I gave earlier.
Yeah.
Now, why did it stop? That's the other question. Why did it stop?
Because I think, like I said, with the
why did it stop? For the boy. Why did it stop?
That's what I was saying. The reason why it probably stopped with the boy is because it wasn't getting the level of energy that it could from before. It knew that he probably couldn't do too much more, or like he was convulsing one of the last times this happened with him. He probably put him to the point where he would kill him, but then he would have nothing to feed off of anymore.
Or he went the way of the burnout, which is what he did, all of his gifts got cooked. And so that's the reason why he can't see it, but his kids can. So
Which is the other.
It's going to be one or the other.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
or a combination of the two.
Yeah. That's another thing. The way of the burnout. Think of your abilities as like a radio in your head, and if something you use them without caution or without understanding, eventually you can burn the whole thing out, and so you don't have the radio in your head anymore. You won't be able to get any of the signals. It's not that the things aren't there;
basically
you aren't seeing them. Yeah, it's just the system is dead, and it can be repaired, but I'm pretty sure some people are happy. And then, of course, the kids they say that they're seeing things. And most of what they're seeing reminds the dad of what he had been seeing. So this moves on to the next generation because it found a good feeding source in the family, and it ain't letting go.
Yeah, why would you?
Yeah. This is why I'm so all about everybody learning to use their gifts. If you are tasked with this glorious purpose, then this is your dragon that needs slaying. And if not, then find someone else who can be St. George for you.
And another reason why we're a very large proponent on listening to your children when they tell you that they're sensing things or they're saying things. Don't just brush it off, please.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many bladder infections, how many wet beds it would have saved, how it would have saved me a lot of issues, a lot of trauma, and how many kids out there that are currently suffering this right now. It's I mean, I'd like to be able to poll the gifted, but there's a lot of people out there that think they're gifted also and aren't. I mean, we come across it all the time. Buckaroos, people who are suddenly awakened as well. People that after 2012 suddenly have talents that they didn't have before because it's the awakening. And unlike Joel and I, where we got a really early start in like 1970. So like they're just catching on 40 years later. So welcome to the party. The stack of books is over there, and Hogwarts is that away.
Stay out of that corner because nobody wants to go in that corner.
So yeah, it's a sad thing because we can't reach everybody currently. I'd love to create a university for people to go and learn these things. There's stuff to be afraid of, and there's stuff not to be afraid of. There's things you can learn. There's stuff that you need to know that can help you. Certain realities, like certain seals can help. Some things can help you with your focus. So there's stones. But oh my god, just today dealing with somebody who told me that it's like, oh no, these things open portals. Like, oh my god, it's another one of those. It's like, yep, another person for the ignore pile. It's like dowsing and pendulums and tarot open portals. No. So, yep, my sanity. I put a little check mark in the block and off to the side we go. What's that with Tinder? Swipe left.
Yeah.
Done. So I couldn't deal with that anymore. It's like, yeah. Well, in my experience, you need Prozac. A little bit more vitamin B6.
You cannot have talent if you have mental illness,
but saying every time you crack open a tarot deck, you're opening a portal.
That's not the case. Yeah.
Same thing for dowsing. There's dowsing. Are you joking? Pendulums opening portals. No, I'm done with this crack pottery. It's I want to be polite, but then there's a certain amount of, if I'm polite and I don't put my foot down, then they're not going to believe, because it's like, okay, so tell me where the portal is. How do you find the portal? Where do you see it? You just know it's here. Oh my gosh, I just know. For somebody who can just see especially when portals are open, especially in corners. Do you even know about these things? Have you seen one? Can you describe it? I've seen probably 20 different types. And every time I see a new one that's a completely different, oh, here we got type 21 coming, I'm sure. And I've seen all these ones that look, and there's very few times that they're common. They have a thing in common. The only ones that do have the things in common are the ones that appear in the corners of a room. And that's because something either has learned how to hide itself in a fourth dimensional way, demonically. And I'm not saying it's a demon, but that's the way that they hide themselves, or they've learned how to pull themselves right through the astral and into the ethereal beyond our plane. And they just simply take two steps in and pow, they're here because they can keep themselves completely separated. But I bet you didn't know about that.
Yeah.
I am so tired of being told off about what I don't know. Just
But we can't all be omnipotent.
So that's one of the things that we're going to be getting back into also is the teaching stuff, because we're going to start doing the Hollywood True Life stuff. I also plan to see about doing a few videos on just general nutrition and how it affects what you see, because believe it or not, malnutrition can make you more likely to see quite a few things that just aren't there. And so I'm not going to say that, all of your problems are going to be solved by a B6 tablet. That's not what's going to come out of me. Just planning a couple of videos on how to improve your general health and well-being on the cheap, so that you don't have to pay a lot in order to give yourself a couple of bumps to your natural everyday general health.
And I'll be doing a few talks on Reiki and energy work.
Because that suddenly became a thing.
And how things, what truths I found, in being told of how things actually work. So that it should be a pretty interesting year. I want to apologize too for the absence of some of the videos. I was sick last week with the flu for the whole week. I was off, and I'm fever for 3 days. It was not fun. And before that, they had changed my work schedule. So on our normal days that we normally would be doing videos, I was working on every single one of those days. God bless shift work.
Well,
love it.
So yeah, and we're going to start off with doing the Enfield haunting. So, and if people have anything that they want to know about that's from some kind of a movie, and I don't mean Jason Voorhees, please God, don't make us go. I'm talking about horror stuff that they say it's true life. Bring it up, tell us about it, and we'll see about looking into it. Because all I can remember, because I can't find any of the other video choices that we planned on outside of the Enfield haunting and the one on the Dybbuk box. I do not know. I had all of these different things set up, and now they're all gone, so I don't know what to say. What are I had a whole list of 10 or 15 of these things, but
oh my gosh.
So do you remember any others now, Joel?
No, I don't. There was a Dybbuk. There was just so many.
Haunting in Georgia. Georgia. Got to write that one down.
I think we was going to talk a little bit about. I don't know. I don't remember. There was just so many.
Did we do the haunting in Connecticut yet? I don't think we did.
Yeah, I think we did. I think we talked about that one a little bit. Okay. Man, I wish we should probably go back and look and see.
I'll look back and see if we did it in the way that we did the Amityville, because I want to do it just like that, so that we have everything set up and it's just laid out nicely with all the backgrounds and all the research done. Because I know we're going to do that for the Enfield haunting, if we haven't done it for a haunting in Connecticut yet, we'll do it. But that one's a good one. Then there's there was the Dybbuk box, and there was a whole bunch of these movies that had come out that and we didn't do Annabelle, did we? I know we talked about Annabelle on that show.
I think we did do Annabelle. I think we did Annabelle when Sony was still on the channel.
So, and I'm just going to have to go back and pick them all up and see what we can do.
Yeah. Oh, Man, just
So, well,
I'm just thinking about all this stuff. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I'm actually super excited about this year. Um, it's just so many things happening. New equipment. Hopefully I get good with the equipment and we can go see places. I kind of want to be able to take the drone out to some of these places around that have some
found the
good
list.
haunting experience that people could go to and just get some video, some area video, and just some
Okay,
video.
so
Period.
all right. So here the one I was going to do the possession, which was but I don't want to do too many possession ones, so I'm going to knock that one out. So here's was The Exorcist, The Conjuring, The Rite, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and we still haven't done Annabelle. We spoke about Annabelle in the show for the Ghost Adventures, but we didn't do the Annabelle, the history on it at all.
I thought for sure we did Annabelle.
No, we actually it was because it was the show for Ghost Adventures where they went to his haunted museum and they brought her there for a Ghost Adventures episode. That was why we thought we'd done it. So no, I found that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left, 7 with the Enfield haunting. So I'm going to kick out the possession because we're going to be doing exorcisms twice over, so we don't need that. Oh no, I'm sorry, I take that back. The possession is the Dybbuk box, so we can't kick that one out. Wrong. So it might be the Rite. We might end up kicking out the Rite, but the Conjuring, and we also have, if we want to add in the place of one of these, we can also do Haunting in Georgia, which is another fantastic one. That's actually a one with a multi-generational family dealing with a series of ghosts that they couldn't possibly know about. That everybody's like, oh no, it's not possible. It's an interesting story, and the movie that they made out of it was doo-doo. No, isn't it the case? Almost okay. How many can you say that they did make a movie into garbage from the source material? Right. The only one I can come up with is A Nightmare on Elm Street.
There's so many movies,
but the ones that they don't ruin the source material. They didn't ruin the source material for Freddy Krueger. That was really good.
That was good.
That was good.
It's funny. I was talking about
spray.
that with somebody who was mom, who was discussing that.
Yeah, with because the real monster, the Dacho, that's much more frightening.
Yeah, we was discussing that. I was explaining to him that, and I don't get me wrong, I was really sketch about telling them. I'm like, listen, so there was a thing that was taking out a bunch of young Hmong men. I kind of want to talk about it, but I kind of don't. Is Freddy Krueger is based off of it, and it's kind of really fucking freaky. I don't want you to die. I don't want you to die on me. I'm not going to talk much about it.
The thing was, the not talking about it was the problem. That was laying them bare, and they were all dying. Then when they finally started talking about it and doing their normal thing, then it stopped it dead.
Yeah, but it's just like, listen, don't drop dead on me, please. Because I think it was
Freddy's coming for you
at the hospital. In one of the rooms that is known to have like some creepy ass shit happen in the room.
Nightmare on Elm Street was on? Which one? Yeah. Original?
It was like the original or something like that.
Ah, good.
It's back during Halloween time, and I was like, oh my God, please don't. Not fucking here. I cannot.
Horror movies where you work. That's gonna suck.
Yeah. People already have enough problems with seeing me in a corner of the room. I'm in my checking on my patients. And they're like, Joel? I'm like, yes. Where are you? I hear you. I'm over here in the corner. I don't see you. I'm right here. Ah! Then the patient wakes up. Ah! And then it's like, ah! And I'm all like, ah!
Notice that was 5 different freeze frames. Every one of them's different.
Oh, good Lord. So much fun.
So anyway, that's I am looking forward to next season for this show, and I know eventually we're planning on, if we can do this, I want to cover the House on Haunted Hill, because hot damn, that movie. Okay, I have to do some work with Barbara before I can do this, because there's some episodes I just got up and walked away from, like going, yeah, look at the time, I've got a thing, because I can't. Or as Joel would say, oh, look at that, skin 30, I gotta go. And so, but no, that was there was some episodes I'm like, I'm gone, I gotta go use the restroom for 2 hours. Yes, I'm sorry. The shitty job, but somebody's got to do it. No, seriously, Karen was like, oh, you missed these whole episodes. I'm like, I'm not sorry, because there's some of these things that would just set me off, and I'm just going, I gotta go. I just have to go.
So where are you going? I have a thing.
I'm gonna go lay on the bath mat and shake. I'm if you need me
game right now in the shower.
I'm going to be laying on the nice fluffy bath mat, just in the fetal position. And so, yeah, but Barbara's helped me out with that a lot. But I really want to cover this, because this is I know we're going to be getting another season of this. And it's one of the classic reasons for this is because I don't know who did their homework, but as children growing up with gifts, this covers almost every aspect of it that's possible, I think. I mean, I haven't sat down and thought out all the different possibilities, but the ones where the kid can see it but doesn't know, been there, done that. The ones who can see it and do know, and it's terrifying, been there, done that. Been exposed to things that was told later on that nobody did see because you couldn't have been. No, you weren't in a room, or you weren't by. Been there, done that. So it's like beats from my existence, all from my life. And if I'm seeing similarities, other people have to as well. How they figure these things out, I do not know. And then, of course,
dead right now.
Then there's the when they're adults and trying to figure it out. And what's her name? Oh my gosh, the girl who with psychometry wearing the gloves reminds me of Joel, because Joel would be like, pick up a stone, and it's like, look at the stone.
To this day, oh my gosh, I did that I told you about the patient who father was in the bedroom, and I go in there, and there's this nondescript like black box that looked like it could have been a subwoofer that was on the table.
Yeah.
And I put my fingers on it, and I was like, oh! And it was like the nurse that was in there with me, that was, because I didn't want to knock over and break some expensive piece of equipment. And the nurse looked up and was like, what? I was like, that's a body. And it was like, you're full of shit. And then we talked I was like, so that black box in there? They was like, oh yeah, that's mom. We wanted him to be close. We wanted her to be close just in case he passed. I looked at the nurse, and I was like, ha ha, yeah, ha, told you so. Listen to the black guy. He's not dying first, this picture.
So that reminds me of Jeff Goldblum's character in that movie with Cyndi Lauper. Remember that, where he's a psychometrist, and they go, and he's picking up all these different knives. He goes, oh, well, now this knife is, several times back, and he drops it. They go like, we know. It's like, why would you do this to me, you sadistic pigs? Now imagine that in Jeff Goldblum's voice. That's another one that caught it dead on, right? It's like,
yeah, exactly. It's a thing. It's a thing.
For me, I just have to get into the room where there's something untoward, and I'm like, I lock eyes with it, and I can't look away. And like Karen will be like, what are you looking at? It's like, get out of the room. It's like, why? What? I said, get out of the room. It's like, I don't understand why. It's like, do you know in those movies where the lady says, I don't see a reason to do what the person's cautioning them not to do? And then what happens to them? They die. I'm like, get out of the room. Right. The last time she didn't listen to me, a thing hit her in the head, and she had a migraine for 3 days. She goes, don't make fun of me for that. I'm like, I'm not making fun of you. That's called an object lesson.
Yeah, if I walk into a room and I walk back out, I was like, nope. I shouldn't have to say anything else. Like, there shouldn't be a reason to say anything else after that. It's like, Joel, why are you wanting to leave this room? Because I don't want to be in with whatever that is. It's just it's a thing. It is a thing.
So Amber says, here we go. I'd be listening to be listening to the psychic. See ya. Well, you see, but if you're married to the psychic, right? There's an old joke. It's like if there's if a husband is alone in the forest, is there any woman there to tell him he's wrong? We're automatically wrong until the bad guy hits you in the head, and then we're sitting there going, "Told you." It's like, why didn't you do anything? I did. I said, get out of the room.
I said it slow so you can understand.
You know, it isn't. I'm not saying it because I'm trying to scare somebody. I'm doing it because I don't want you to get hit. They're not going to aim for me. Anything that's got only if it has a death wish, and I try to put myself in the way. But you know what? This meat doesn't move as fast as my astral form does.
Yeah.
That's truthful. I'm being totally honest. This part of me doesn't move as fast as my astral self. Oh, we're getting messages,
huh? Timer. Got to get the timer.
All right. Well, let's see. Reduce that. All right, everybody. That's it for the show for tonight. Next show hopefully is going to be after Joel and I record everything, and we're going to put it up. It's not going to be a live show. It's going to be just a pre-recorded, edited thing about the Enfield haunting that we've been waiting to put up for some time. I definitely can't wait to do this because it's been such a long time, and my juices are flowing for bringing this in. And so it's going to be good night, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Hopefully more people will be able to join us. Now we're on Facebook doing live, but I'm going to be putting up the videos both simultaneously. Anyway, good night, Joel.
Good night. Good night, everybody. Good night, Facebook. Good night, StreamYard. Good night, YouTube. Good night, Amber. Good night, Barb. Anybody else who's out there?
Yeah, hopefully
you enjoyed this.
So, good night, everybody. See you next time.